Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Amy Biggs. Today, I'd like to talk to you about universal design for learning. Before we get to that, I wanted to let you know that I'm the curriculum director for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. Our school system is called Ohio Central School System, and we serve approximately 16,000 students across the state of Ohio. It's a very interesting job. If you're ever interested in learning about it, please reach out to me. Also, I am an adjunct grad prof at Mount Vernon Nazarene University. I've been with MVNU now for 17 years. I have had numerous jobs. I was there full time for 12, and now I'm there as an adjunct, and it's a wonderful place with some really great people. But on to Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. So, one of my favorite quotes is by John Dewey. If we teach students today, the way we taught them yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. So really thinking about how we can plan for the margins and do things a little differently is what UDL is all about. It's all about planning. So outcomes after this presentation, and really after this whole module that you're going to take, you'll be able to have at least one aha moment about what UDL is and what it may look like in practice, and that's the purple. And again, everything's color-coded. Self-reflect on how your own practice to identify a personalized goal and strategy for how you're going to optimize UDL, which is blue, so you're going to implement that and reflect on that. And then the green is understand why UDL is necessary to transform teaching and learning. And that is just really exciting. And if you've read any of Simon Sinek, he really talks about getting to why. So that is the really important part. And he's a great author too, if you're looking for something to read over the summer. So you'll see this picture here. Not only is the architecture beautiful, but it's also universally designed. What? Yes, architecture. So the term universal design comes from architecture and product development to create places or things that are accessible to as many people as possible, including those with disabilities. So that is really exciting, and I was really excited when I found this cool little picture to put on the slide. This is an example of universal design. This is some textured concrete. And originally we would think it would be for people that have a visual impairment, but who is it good for? It's good for all of us. The way the curb slopes down, the fact we know that we're getting close to the curb, good for people with strollers, individuals with small children. Maybe it's even good for me when I'm looking down at my phone and feel the texture there and know to look up so I don't get hit by a bus. All of us people who are stuck on our phones all the time. So that's an example of universal design. Here's another example of universal design that I really like. I'm a big pool person, so you can see the pool there. You can see that gradual ramp there for both the swing and the pool. Can imagine that this would be good for individuals with disabilities, maybe that use a wheelchair to get around, but it would also be good for individuals maybe who have back problems or can't use the steps or can't, use a ladder to get in and out of a pool. That's really hard on some people. Maybe they don't have the strength to do that. They definitely might have the strength to be able to get up and down this sloped ramp here, which is really exciting that is universally designed. The same thing with the swing. This is probably my favorite example of all universal design, and that is this lever doorknob. It's not even a knob, is it? It's like a lever. It's my favorite because my puppy dog would let herself in and out of lots of places. So you can imagine that this is good for maybe individuals that don't have good grip strength, maybe if they're getting older, or maybe if they don't have a lot of dexterity. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's older. Who else might it be good for? Maybe for somebody with children, or somebody with, if maybe you're like me and you carry lots of groceries, you refuse to make 2 trips with all those bags of groceries. So you are able to use your elbow, right, to get the door open, so you don't have to make more than 1 trip. Right? So that's the funny part about this. That is really one of my favorite examples of universal design. Next, we have more examples of universal designs, how that works for everyone. We have the electric toothbrush, the tactile pavement that I was talking about earlier. One of my favorite things are audiobooks. That's a cassette tape, if you've never seen one of those before. Now it's just an app on your phone, isn't it? And originally, audiobooks were created for individuals with visual impairments. And now who are they good for? Everybody. I listen to audiobooks all the time. Super exciting. So I want to give you an example of thinking about you're hosting a special dinner, and you're inviting your Uncle Phil. He's gluten-free. Aunt Margie is vegan. Neighbor Tom has diabetic needs. Your niece Belinda is organic. Your mother-in-law's always trying something new, so now she's vegetarian. Cousin Tariq has a peanut allergy. Your brother Marcus is keto, and there might be other needs to be considered as well that you can think of. Maybe kosher. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of other needs that you can think of. Maybe lactose. All kinds of different things. So this slide is making me hungry, but one of the options we can look at is having turkey or a protein option involving tofu, some tofurkey, some cauliflowered mashed potatoes, some dressing with rice bread, glazed carrots, fresh veggie tray, tossed salad, variety of pies and fresh fruits, and lots of different beverages. So there's lots of options there. So in order to apply UDL to my dinner, or universal design to my dinner, I get to think of all the options and possibilities ahead of time, so really plan for it. Make my meal open to all dietary needs. Be inclusive of everyone. Really get to know my guests, just like getting to know my students. Not make special foods, but have a variety of options open to everyone. So everyone ends up eating or learning, and no one will go away hungry, and I'll have all the needs met. So very different than, I'm gluten-free, so very different than just saying, here's this one meal. Like, no, you get to pick and choose you get to choose from the table what you can eat. Okay, so there's 3 tenets to UDL, and those are to provide multiple and flexible methods of representation. That's really giving students with diverse learning styles various ways of acquiring information and knowledge. We're going to talk about ways to do that. Expression, providing diverse students with alternatives for demonstrating what they have learned. And that's blue. And you'll see everything's color-coded as we go through here. And then last in green is engagement, to really tap into those interests and challenge them. So, and helping them learn and motivate and getting to the why of some of this. So again, here's the color coding with the brain areas. You have the recognition networks, or the what of learning, how we gather facts and categorize what we see, hear, and read. You have the strategic networks, or the how of learning. So planning and performing tasks, those executive functioning skills. And then the affective networks, or the why of learning, really getting them engaged and motivated, are some of the fun parts of the affective network, or the why of learning. So this slide in itself is a whole class, but when we talk about some of the brain theory, but I just wanted to show you that that's how some of this works in the brain, and that it is all brain-based and evidence-based and part of ESSA as well. Actually, the only teaching framework that is in ESSA. This is David Rose, and he is the director and founder of CAST. He's going to talk about Universal Design for Learning guidelines, and I'm going to you'll get to see this again later. It doesn't work well on the Screencastify that I'm using, so I am going to provide you the link to watch it later. And but basically, he talks about the guidelines and how we not only go across but also work down. So that is really interesting. This is the guidelines that he talks about in the video that I'll provide the link for in this module. But you'll be able to see, again, see the purple, the blue, and the green, multiple means of representation. Number 1, provide options for perception, and that's broken down. Number 2, provide options for language, expression, and symbols, and then that's broken down. Provide options for comprehension, and then that's broken down to create these resourceful, knowledgeable learners. The same thing for the blue, provide multiple means of action and expression. Number 4, provide options for physical action. Number 5, provide options for expression and communication. And number 6, one of our favorites, provide options for executive functioning. And later on, we're going to have a sheet where this gets broken down even more than just this about some real practical things that you can do. The last one is the green, provide multiple means of engagement. Number 7, really recruiting that interest. Number 8, options for sustaining effort and persistence, so important. And number 9, options for self-regulation. So especially when we talk about students who've experienced trauma, when we work with students like that, you can see how this all comes full circle. So we're really going to have purposeful, motivated learners that are strategic and goal-directed, as well as resourceful and knowledgeable. So just really neat stuff all on this one page. I know it's a lot. We're going to study it more later. I get asked a lot about what is the difference between UDL and differentiated instruction, or DI, or differentiation, however you want to call it. So I'm going to talk about that, and this slide is really important for that. And then I also included traditional education on here. And to me, that's really, if you're a Little House fan, a Laura Ingalls Wilder fan like I am, that is, that's what traditional education reminds me of, it being real static. Where DI, differentiation, is reactive, so it's reacting to their needs. Where UDL is more proactive, where we're planning for their needs. It is intentional. We're planning for the margins. We are valuing variety and really removing those barriers. So trying to really do what's best for students and really helping our students. So when we talk here about removing these barriers, right, which is what UDL does, we can talk about, and some of you may have seen this slide before, we can talk about these different pictures. So I want you to just take a minute and look at the differences between each of the pictures. Yes, I know they're not practicing social distancing. Hope we get back to the ball game soon. But you can see here in this picture, if you look at it, the first slide is really about equality, and everybody gets the same thing. Does everybody need the same thing, though? You can see that the little kid on there still can't see the ball game. And then if you look at the second picture, we have equity, where they're getting what they need and not being treated the same, but being treated equitably, everybody getting what they need. So equality versus equity in those first two slides. And then UDL, in my experience, takes it one step further and really thinks about ahead of time removing those systemic barriers and everybody being able to see without any supports or accommodations because the inequity was addressed. So just some really neat stuff to think about. especially as we start talking more about universal design for learning and really planning for that. In addition to planning for universally designing our lessons, we also want to talk about that why, that Simon Sinek why is self-direction and creativity critical. So really having these expert learners and having these students be real thinkers, right? Being able to plan and execute and becoming these expert learners. And one of the reasons is so that they can self-direct themselves, so they can be creative, so they're able to think, right? Students are not widgets, nor are we really creating that many widgets anymore. We have computers that make widgets now. So we need computer operators. So this is really interesting. This comes from, oh gosh, I don't remember what FRED stands for, but it is some economic development and the Federal Register of Economic Development. Anyways, you can find this real easily on the internet. But that top line where it's going up are those professional jobs or those non-routine cognitive jobs. So you're thinking like a doctor or an architect, and you can see architect, so you can see how those lines, that top line or blue line is going up. And then you see the middle two lines, which are the green line, thinking of secretaries, and the routine non-cognitive jobs like manufacturing jobs. Those are really stagnant and starting to go down. And then the bottom line is the low skill work or non-routine manual work, thinking of hotel maids, waiters, and so on. So really thinking that the jobs of the future, they aren't even created yet. Some of them we don't even know. So we're training people for students for jobs that we don't even really know what they'll be doing. They may be creating and doing things we've never even imagined. So also I found it really interesting that those vertical bars in there were the areas of recession. So you can see if the line goes down a little bit, those were the areas of recession. I love this video. It's about 1 minute and 38 seconds long. Again, it doesn't play well with my Screencastify, so I'm going to provide a link for it in this section. But it's really about these two individuals getting stuck on an escalator. And really, we don't want our students to get stuck like this. We want to educate thinkers. So the other thing I want you to think about is that in most classrooms, students really don't take an active role in their own learning, or do they respectfully challenge the thinking of their classmates. And so this is a challenge. Can be a challenge for us as teachers. And so this is in Dr. Katie Novak's book on page 13, where she quotes Danielson from 2013. So really thinking about that, really challenging thinking and finding a way to respectively talk to each other and challenge each other, and doing that in the classroom. And now we're back to another food slide here. We started with a food slide. We're ending with a food slide. But talking about traditional and differentiated instructions are both teacher-directed frameworks. And students didn't have to learn how to learn because the curriculum was served to them on a plate. In UDL, the students take an active role in their learning so they can become expert learners and, again, not get stuck on the escalator. And that's from Dr. Katie Novak's book on page 87. So if all of this seems really big in your mind and you're not sure how exactly you're going to create expert learners, and it's just one more thing that you're supposed to do in your very busy day, I want you to remember that everything takes practice. Every student is capable of this. Every teacher is capable of designing and delivering and transferring that ownership to the students. Maybe it's just not happening yet. And hopefully, as we work through these modules, you'll be able to see how that works. So, the power of yet. So, thank you all for watching the video.